All right, so today is our Easter experience, and I don't know if y'all are already having a good time. I've been having a good time so far, worshiping God and doing all those things. But I want to kick off this message with a question, and the question is, how many of you guys in here have your driver's license? Quite a few of you, okay. How many of you guys are excited to get your driver's license? Is that a thing? All of y'all. Some of y'all raised your hand twice. I don't know what that means, but I don't know if you've noticed this, but when I got my driver's license, I realized pretty quickly that I started to form these habits of the places that I would go. Like I started to realize I would get in my car and it seemed like you could map out where I was going, not just like school and work and stuff, but there were some places that I started to frequent when I got my driver's license and I could do my own thing. Y'all know what I'm saying? Have y'all noticed that about yourself? Maybe you hit the Taco Bell a lot. I don't know. But for me, man, I was 16, 17, and I lived a crazy wild life. And so on the weekends, me and one of my friends, we would go do crazy wild things. And one of those crazy wild things we developed a habit of is going to Barnes & Noble almost every single Saturday. And if you don't know what Barnes & Noble is, it's not a club, it is a bookstore. And we would just start every single Saturday. I'm like, man, I got my own car, my own driver's license. I can drive to Tulsa. I'm going to go to Barnes & Noble. My friend would go with me, and we'd go out there, and I would just look at all the books for like hours. And normally I would buy a book as well. And my family and my friends started making fun of me because I quickly got a pretty good book collection in my house. And I read almost none of them, like ever. And something about, like being in Barnes & Noble, they seem more readable in the Barnes & Noble than they do whenever you get home. I don't know if y'all have experienced that before. Maybe. Y'all are pretty tired from worship, aren't y'all? But that's just how it was for me. So I ended up with all these books that I didn't really read, except for there was a few books that I did read. There were a few. And one of them was this book that Pastor Taylor, who preached last week, actually told me to read when I was about 17. And it's called Man's Search for Meaning. And it's by this guy named Viktor Frankl. Has anyone ever heard of that book? Maybe? Oh, yeah, you've heard of it. Okay, cool. Not very many. So what this book is about is this guy who was a psychologist. And he actually, while he was a psychologist during World War II. And he actually got taken and put inside the concentration camps that the Nazis had, which is a wild place to be. Like, not put inside to work. Like, he was put inside, like, as a prisoner. And he's a psychologist, so while he's there, he's in these awful conditions where people are being starved and they're being beaten and they're being worked to death, literally. And he's like, man, since I'm a psychologist, I'm going to try to do some psychology while I'm in here. I'm going to try to figure out what I can learn about people in the worst kinds of conditions. And Viktor Frankl is talking about all these awful things that he went through, and he actually makes it out of the concentration camp. He makes it home safely. And he actually wanted to write this book that he wrote, Man's Search for Meaning, and the Nazis wouldn't give him pen and paper. So what he did is every single night, he would write the book in his mind. And if he had a new chapter, he would add the new chapter in his mind. He would keep rewriting it in his mind so he could remember it so that he could publish it when he got out of the concentration camps. And there's a lot of really good stuff in this book. But there's a quote that he says that I think is really interesting to take from someone who has went through so much. And it's this. He says, those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. And some of y'all are like, there were bears in the concert? What is he talking about? No. What he's saying is, if I have a why to live, if I have a reason to live, then I can endure almost any pain that comes my way. If I decide that there is a why that is important enough, then I can deal with the pain that comes with the thing that I'm doing. And some of you have experienced this. We've all experienced this to some degree. And it can be big things, it can be small things. But some of you, you're athletes, and you'll go and you'll do a workout that makes you like throw up afterwards. And like, it's not a good time. It is painful. No one wants to go do that. But you have a why that is big enough to endure the pain. Your why is, I want to get better as an athlete. And so you'll go and you'll endure the terrible workout. You can do it because you have a why that is bigger than your how. Some of you are musicians, and you've experienced before, if you play guitar, you've played guitar until your fingers have bled. If you play drums, you play drums until you have blisters on them. If you sing, you've sang even whenever it feels like your throat is on fire. And people are like, why would you do all that? Well, your reason, your why, is bigger than the pain. Like, you would rather engage in the music no matter what it's going to cost you because your why is bigger than your how. Some of you have decided you're going to school to be a doctor or a lawyer or something that takes a lot of time in school. And you know it's going to cost a lot of money. You know that you're going to be in school for a long time. And no matter how much you like school, you probably don't want to do college for as long as you're going to have to. But your why is bigger than your how. You have a why that is big enough to get you through the things, the consequences that it takes to get there. Last one, some of you have a job, and maybe you just got the job to buy the car so you can drive it. but you got the job and you don't really love the job. It's not your favorite job. It's not the job you would choose to do forever, but you know that you need the money. You know that you want to save up and buy the car or buy whatever it is. And so your why is bigger than the pain you have to endure at the job. Does that make sense? Is everyone tracking? Sometimes, though, we will lose our why. And when we lose our why, everything starts to hurt worse. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you might be cool doing the workouts whenever you think you're going to go play college ball. But if you ever start to think you might not play college ball, this thing, all of a sudden, those workouts start to hurt a little bit more. Throwing up so that I can be better doesn't sound as good if my why was so I could go play college ball. I don't think I'm going to anymore. For musicians, maybe some of you decided you don't like the music that you play anymore, and so it's not worth it to have your fingers bleeding to play the guitar. Your why has went away, and now the pain hurts worse. Maybe for you it's the job, and you had the job to save up to buy the car so that you could have a vehicle, and now that you have the vehicle, you don't really want to go to the job. It's a lot harder to go to the job, but you don't have something to look forward to whenever your why isn't big enough. It is actually really natural for us to have whys that fade. If we're trying to figure out who we are and what to do and where to go, and we're trying out all these things, we will have temporary whys that show up in our life, things that we're really passionate about, and they'll fade away. When I was a kid, I played t-ball. I'm an athlete. And when I was playing t-ball, they weren't for sure which hand I catch the ball with and throw the ball with. So I actually had 2 gloves. And so depending on the game, I would change out gloves because we were just trying to figure out, what I can do. And we never figured out because I was bad with both of them. So, yeah, we weren't really for sure. But I remember one time I'm playing, and I'm having a good time playing t-ball. And this kid that was on the team could throw a lot better than I could because everyone else could. And he threw it towards me, and I went to catch it, and it missed my glove and smacked me right in the face. And I remember going to my mom and being like, I was like crying. I was like, Mom, I don't want to play t-ball anymore. And she was like, we have to finish out the season, but like you cannot play after that. And I was like, okay, bet. What happened was my why faded really quickly. I didn't have a big enough why to endure almost any pain to play t-ball. I didn't want to be a professional. I didn't want to play baseball, but my why faded really quickly. And today, I'm saying all that to let you know that there are temporary whys, but there's also a permanent why. There's a permanent why, and you can find it in John 10, verse 10. It says, the thief, it's talking about Satan, comes only to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come, this is Jesus talking, that they may have life and have it to the full. See, Jesus is the permanent why. It's the one that doesn't fade. It's the one that's not temporary. It's the one that doesn't change up on you. And when you make Jesus your permanent why, you don't have to keep feeling like you have to switch up what you're doing all the time. You don't have to keep feeling like your purpose is always changing and moving and it feels like the ground is an earthquake. All of a sudden, things get a little more solid whenever you have a permanent why. When you have something that's always changing and fading on you, all of a sudden, you have a pretty big reason to live. Like, I'm going to follow the one who died on the cross for me. That's a big deal. And now I'm filled with the Holy Spirit so I can pull on heaven's help anytime that I need it. And I'm getting more and more undignified so the things that people used to say about me don't bother me anymore because I'm focused on what God is saying about me more than anyone else, including myself. And what happens is you start to get this permanent why, and all of a sudden, things don't feel as shaky anymore. Things start to feel a lot more solid. And you're probably like, well, I've been following Jesus for a little bit. Maybe some of you in here are like, well, why doesn't it always feel like that? I've been following Jesus. You're saying that I should feel sturdy. I should feel safe. I should have joy. Why doesn't it always feel like that? And I would argue the reason why it doesn't always feel like that is because we have a tendency as humans to take these little whys and put them in place of the big why. We have a tendency as humans to take these things that are supposed to be temporary, that are supposed to fade, that are here only on the earth, and we put them in the place that only Jesus can be at. We try to take these temporary whys and we try to make them we try to make them sustain us. And so what you'll do is you'll be like, man, like I want to be a professional basketball player. And every day of your life for a little bit, you'll get up and that will be the thing that is guiding you. That'll be the thing that is directing you. That'll be the thing that you want to go and do. And you're super excited about it. You're ready to do it. But eventually, that thing's going to fade. It'll either fade whenever you go to college and don't make it to the pros, or it'll fade whenever you get to the pros and you retire. But eventually you're going to get to a spot where you're like, I don't have much joy in this anymore. Why? Because you took something that is temporary and you tried to make it fit in a spot that is supposed to be permanent. And when we start following Jesus, we are actually, this is crazy to think about, we're eternal. Like, we live forever. So you are an eternal being. You don't just live on earth. Like, you are going to live for eternity. And we're eternal beings walking around trying to make temporary things satisfy us. And so we'll start taking these little whys, my job, the car that I have, the girlfriend I have, the boyfriend I have, and we put them in the place of Jesus, and we wonder why these things aren't sustaining us. These things aren't bad things, to be clear. It's okay to have the temporary things. You should have the temporary things, but you shouldn't put them in the spot to where you're always looking to them, to where they're the reason why you live, because they can't sustain you. But Paul talks about how he was sustained. See, Paul was in Corinth, and when he's around there, he had a lot of crazy things happen to him. He was shipwrecked. He was stoned almost to death. He had people persecuting him all the time. Paul was thrown in prison so many times. He would have lashes on him. They would throw him in the dirt. He would get dirt all in his wounds. Like, Paul had so many things happen to him. Most of us would just quit and say, I'm not doing this Jesus thing anymore. That thing is crazy. And Paul's like, I figured out how to keep doing it. And he says it like this in 1 Corinthians 2, verse 2. He says, for I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. This sounds like a pretty wild thing to say, but he said, I decided I'm not going to focus on anything when the bad things were happening except for this, that Jesus Christ was crucified. Meaning, I'm not going to focus on all of this wild stuff that's going on around me. I'm going to focus on, you know what, no matter what my circumstance looks like, there was a God who became flesh and then died for me. And this is really why Easter is a big deal, because it is the moment where we get to experience the freedom that we could never have before. It's the moment where Jesus, whenever he died and he resurrected, it made it so that your joy doesn't change day by day, depending on if your boyfriend or if your girlfriend broke up with you, depending on if your depression decided to show up that day, depending on even if someone died. It's like this thing where you can be like, no, I know all this stuff it's not a good time. It's bad, but Jesus died for me. But he laid down his life for me. And Paul said, this is how I did it. I was going through a lot. He's had more things happen to him in his lifetime than most of us have happened in our entire lives. But Jesus died for me. So how do we do that? Like, how do we get to a spot where we can actually believe that? Hebrews 12, 2-3 says this. It says, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and the perfecter of our faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. So I want to pull a lot from this verse because there's a lot here. But he says we are fixing our eyes on Jesus. So I can get to this spot, like Paul, where while life is happening, while my home life is terrible, while my relationships with my friends are breaking apart, while I'm not really for sure how I'm going to make it through the day, I can get to a spot where I can fix my eyes on Jesus. And what does it say? It says we don't have to grow weary and lose heart. We can actually not experience our joy being ripped from us. We can actually not experience the things that just pull us down. Like, we will experience bad things in life, but I can make up my mind that no. I have a Savior who died for me so I could experience all of the promises that he gave me. So I can experience the peace that he promised. So I can experience the joy that he promised. The joy in all circumstances. That quote, we can throw it up on the screen again. Those who have a why to live can bear almost anyhow. And this is what Paul figured out. He was like, he realized there was a big enough why, and his name is Jesus. And he realized that it is a why that can be put in place of the permanent why that nothing else can take the place of. And he realized if I can just keep it in front of me, if I can fix my eyes on him, then all this other stuff doesn't matter. Like, this other stuff might not be a good time, but in eternity it doesn't matter because he will sustain me no matter what I'm going through. And Viktor Frankl, in his book, he talks about what his why was. He said that while he was in the concentration camp and he was trying to get through, his why was that maybe one day he would see his wife. And he said every time he was beaten, every time someone died in front of him, every time he got sick, he would start to picture his wife's face. And he said it was enough to get him through. And we know that Paul's why was Jesus. We know that Viktor Frankl's why was his wife. And Scripture actually says this. It says, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. What I want to let you know today is that Jesus' why was you. Like, it was you. He knew what was going to happen to him. He wasn't oblivious to it. He knew he was going to experience one of the most excruciating deaths you can experience, and he thought of you while he was there. And today what I want to do is just tell you what this verse says. I just want to get you to consider him. Like, if life doesn't look good for you, if you're having a hard time, if depression is coming at you, if anxiety is coming at you, if you're in a spot where you feel like you don't know how you're going to get through it, my encouragement to you is just consider him. Because he considered you every single step of the way on the cross. Every time a nail was driven into his hand, he was considering you. Every time he was being whipped, it says he was whipped to the point. It says he was whipped to the point to where he was actually unrecognizable. Every single one of those lashes, he was considering you. He said, you're worth it. This pain is awful, but you're worth it. This is going to be a terrible death, but you're worth it. And he said, it's so worth it that the reason why we're celebrating Easter is that he's the only God that didn't stay dead. He actually resurrected. And he said, I can't just promise you that I'll be with you in death. He said, I promise that I will give you life. And my encouragement to you today is to consider him. Consider him. Scripture says, are you weary? Are you worn out? Are you burdened? Are you tired of religion? Are you tired of feeling the same way every single day, not having joy in your life, not feeling like you have a purpose, not feeling like there's any reason to get up in the morning? I'm telling you, consider the one that can give all of it to you. Consider the one that bought life for you. Consider the one that will reach down from heaven, pull you up, pick you up and put you on your feet and say, go ahead, you are my child. I love you. Consider him. Consider him.